I'm Rita McCannon. I'm an attorney in Huntsville, Alabama, real far north Alabama, and these are our other two judges.
Hello, I'm Thomas Mackey. I'm in the History Department at the University of Louisville and the Brandeis School of Law here at the University of Louisville.
Hi, I'm Jay Barth. I'm the Chief Education Officer for the City of Little Rock, and I'm also an Emeritus Professor of American Politics at Hendrix College. Welcome.
I'm going to have you go through, and in whatever order you would normally do this, please introduce yourselves. Tell us where you are from, and if you want to tell us what grade you're in or where you're going to college or anything like that, we'll be glad to hear it. Please, let's begin with that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Linton. I'm a senior, and I am going to William & Mary next year.
Hi, I'm Emerson Aiken. I'm also a senior at Glen Allen, and I will be attending the University of Michigan.
Hi, my name is Marcelina Takilo, and I'm still currently undecided about college.
I'm Layla. I'm also a senior at Glen Allen, and I'm going to JMU next year.
And Charlie's having some technical difficulties, so I think
Can
that's
y'all
where.
hear me now?
There you go, Charlie. You're good.
I'm back in business. Alrighty. Sorry about that.
What's your name?
My name is Charles Taylor.
Are we ready to begin? Okay. Unit 3, question 1. I do not think the United States would come to an end if we lost our power to declare an act of Congress void. I do think the Union would be imperiled if we could not make that declaration as to the laws of the several states. What impact has judicial review had on federalism? Is judicial review a counter-majoritarian practice? Please support your position. What limits, if any, would you place on the practice of judicial review? And we look forward to hearing from you. Please begin.
As Chief Justice John Marshall stated in the landmark case Marbury v. Madison, it is emphatically the duty of the Judicial Department to say what the law is. Judicial review can be defined as an examination of law against the Constitution by the Supreme Court to determine if the law is in compliance with or violates the supreme law of the land. The ratification of the 14th Amendment only reinforces this judicial duty, as scholar Akil Reed Amar has noted. Extending the Bill of Rights extends the states it has dramatically strengthened the bill. Unused muscles atrophy, while those that are used regularly and put to use grow strong. As a result, states are free to pass laws under their police powers, but they must be in compliance with the Constitution under precedent set as early as McCulloch v. Maryland and Gibbons v. Ogden, and reinforced and expanded upon later in the 14th Amendment.
There is no better evidence to support Holmes' belief in the importance of federal rule over states than the catastrophic results of the overzealously Federalist Articles of Confederation. The United States under the AOC fell short on crucial aspects of functional government, including commerce, treaties, supermajority requirements for legislation, and simple executive power. This led to a United States Constitution that tipped the scales towards national government under Article 1, Section 8, Article 6's Supremacy Clause, and popular sovereignty inherent to the Constitution from the preamble all the way to Article 7's ratification procedures. However, issues seen in the Reconstruction-era South similarly backed up Holmes's claims. Without a federal power enforcing civil liberties and civil rights, what was to stop state legislatures from enacting Jim Crow laws, depriving their citizens of due process, or preventing minority groups from voting?
The road to incorporation in the U.S. was long, beginning with Barron v. Baltimore in 1833, outright declaring that the Bill of Rights did not apply to states. In the post-Civil War U.S. v. Cruikshank, furthering that the first and second still did not apply. However, eventually cases such as Gitlow v. New York, Twining v. New Jersey, and Palco v. Connecticut allowed for incorporation of federal amendments to state constitutions on a selective basis, effectively allowing the courts to enforce the Bill of Rights on the states.
In Federalist 78, it outlines a blueprint for the role of judiciary in government, established by the U.S. Constitution, which is independent of external influences. As the Constitution is an expression of we the people, the judicial branch is intended to uphold those principles and strike down all laws at odds with our expressed will. Judicial review has served as a counterbalance to inequities that were created by the concentration of power in the states, what Madison termed factions in Federalist 10. Cases like Brown versus Board of Education, Bailey versus Patterson, Loving versus Virginia, and Roe versus Wade allowed us to live up to our constitutional ideals when localized majorities abuse their powers.
We believe the appropriate guardrails already exist for judicial review. For example, the judicial branch interprets laws but cannot enforce them, which is left up to both the states and the executive branch. Under advise and consent, the executive branch appoints justices and the Senate approves. Also, Congress can make laws regarding jurisdiction. Finally, the judicial branch places limitations on itself, as they only make decisions in cases in controversy and are not supposed to get political, as outlined in Article 3 of the Constitution. These limitations lead many to see the judicial branch as the least powerful branch, or, as stated by Hamilton in Federalist 78, beyond comparison, the weakest of the three departments of power. Since judicial review is among one of the key democratic entities of our nation, it's imperative that the court's power of judicial review remains strong and unchanged. As stated by John Marshall, it is empathetically the province and duty of the judicial department to say what the law is.
Please finish your thought.
That was it.
Let's start with our follow-up questions. Professor Mackey, would you like to go first?
Sure. You've just argued here near the end about the federal courts being the least dangerous branch, and yet all the evidence you came forward with all that nice case law was a demonstration of just how powerful the federal courts, and in particular the United States Supreme Court, is. That in fact, these 9 unelected and unaccountable justices can implement their will over the will of political majorities, majorities in Congress, majorities in states. How in the world is this not a dangerous branch?
Go ahead.
Well, for one, I would disagree with you saying that they're unchecked. If we look at Article 1, that gives the legislative branch complete control over the Supreme Court. So it gives them the power to threaten things such as court packing, which could limit the power of the Supreme Court.
But the justices don't quake at that. They know that they can survive such political bluster. I'm not sure I'm convinced. Keep going, Mr. Linton.
Well, if you look at FDR's New Deal, in the New Deal era, FDR had threatened court packing, and previously the justices had been very against New Deal policies. And as he threatened to kind of pack the court and take away some of their power, they shifted their rulings and kind of allowed the New Deal to pass.
And kind of going off of that, as Hamilton states in Federalist 78, the judicial branch is the weakest branch of the government because it has, quote, neither the sword to enforce or the purse to tax. And so I think some good examples of that throughout history is Lincoln's suspension of habeas corpus during the Civil War. Supreme Court said that was not acceptable, and Lincoln was just like, okay, because they have no ability to enforce it. Similarly, when Andrew Jackson was president in Worcester v. Georgia, the Supreme Court made a ruling against him, and he didn't like it, so he simply just didn't do it because the Supreme Court has no ability to enforce its own rules. So therefore, the Supreme Court is the least dangerous branch of government because it does not have the ability to enforce these things unless the other branches, which would, if it made a really unpopular decision, so the other branches have to do it for them.
If they're so weak, why would we pay attention?
That's because we respect the Supreme Court, because we respect that they are separate from government, or separate from the messiness of politics. So they're these 9 non-elected justices. So they don't engage in the nastiness of campaigning. So we see them as a more pure branch.
And you were interrupted.
Going
Go
off
ahead.
of this branch, if you look at the political question doctrine, they really do not pay attention to cases, or maybe not pay attention to, but they do not take cases that are too political because they believe themselves as a separate entity. And so this is another thing that keeps the court true to itself, and is very important and gaining people's respect and trust because they're just there to interpret and not to involve themselves in political matters.
So
Can
Emerson,
we change gears with you just a minute? Senator Ted Cruz wrote a book called One Vote Away, claiming that a single Supreme Court seat can change history. Do you all agree to that with that? And explain.
I think a great example of that would be the case of Roe v. Wade, which I believe is a 5-4 decision at the moment. And if you look at that vote, that court case has shaped our entire political climate at the moment. Both parties have a very strong stance on abortion as a result of that case. And if that case is flipped the other way, maybe there's less polarization in the country, or maybe we're looking at completely different political parties. So I think a vote like that is, incredibly impactful on where our country kind of falls throughout history.
I think maybe,
So it's not the least dangerous branch. Go ahead, Ms. Aiken. I interrupted. Go ahead, Ms. Aiken.
It's okay. Additionally, to his point, maybe not the actual presence of an additional seat, but the threat of adding one, as seen in the New Deal when FDR did threaten to pack the court. It did force Congress and everybody to kind of make actions and allow some of his New Deal issues to go through. So I think the threat of an additional seat is very important, but it is also important to note that we have been set at 9 seats since 1869, which is, I think, another very important fact when we're looking at this.
And Mr. Mackey, to kind of address that under Article 1 and Article 2, Congress and the President could go declare war on Soviet Russia tomorrow. The Supreme Court could not do that.
so another potential proposal that's out there is, of course, to limit the terms of Supreme Court justices in some way. Could you kind of briefly lay out the pros and cons of that, and then where do y'all end up in terms of some limits on the terms of justices?
I think that limiting the terms of Supreme Court justices is definitely something that would have a lot of impact on the thing. But ultimately, I think that Supreme Court justices, I think that there should be necessary terms on things like, being the president or being a congressman. But ultimately, a Supreme Court justice is not a politician. Supreme Court justice is just simply a judge who is there to interpret the law. And therefore, I do not think that they should have limited terms, because then when you have limited terms, I think it becomes way more politicized, because it's like, oh, on, June 1st, 2022, we know that X judge's term is up, and there's gonna be this huge debate around who's gonna replace that person. And assuming that the president still implemented the judge, they would just put way more power in the president's hand to know, on X date every year, we're gonna be able to flip the court. And so I think that would just make the court more politicized. And I think that although it probably would get rid of judges who might be unpopular, who are on there forever, it would ultimately have a bad impact on the judicial system.
So I agree with that completely with what Charlie said. So by altering it, it really kind of changes up the structure, and it could be greatly influenced by politics. That's why the judicial branch is how it is today. It's just a separate entity, just so it does not become very interlaced with these political things. And this can be seen through Article 3 of the Constitution, which kind of outlines that it is that this Supreme Court is only inherently made to interpret these laws.
I agree. I think that since what we've had with the 9 justices has worked so long, there's really no reason to change it. I feel like we are well represented with the judges we have or the justices we have, because of how the president appoints them. We elect the president. So I'm kind of happy with how it is.
Time.
That was a good way to stop. Gentlemen, would you all like to respond?
Sure, Jay, you want to go?
Sure. I mean, obviously y'all are very prepared, very thoughtful, very clear in where you come down on issues, which I think is a real strength. Now, I did think that I'll just give an example. The question I asked about term limits, you didn't really kind of give the other side, which I did ask for you to do, but y'all were really clear in terms of and definitive and very thoughtful about where you came down. So you had real depth, very well spoken. Obviously, all of y'all know this material really well, and that was super obvious from today. So congratulations. I mean, y'all are very strong performers.
Look, these are really big ideas: judicial review, federalism, counter majoritarianism. These are tough issues that literally federal judges and the justices and members of Congress are struggling with each and every day. And here we dump you guys into this. So if you felt like you were struggling a little bit, that's okay, because that's what we were hoping you would do. Also, my style is to try to put you on the horns of a dilemma and see how you do. So I know Mr. Linton thought I was after him, but all I was trying to do was to stir the pot a little bit there. And I thought you did a really nice job, by the way, Mr. Linton. So not to worry, okay? The issues, a couple of issues. The scholarship makes it clear more and more that the FDR court had already changed its mind, that the court packing comes after the decisions had already been made and written and been signaling that the court was going to change and had changed before the huffing and puffing. So I maybe that literature hasn't made it into the sources you found. So that's a little odd point there you want to be careful on, and always make sure you try to get to the most recent arguments. And the same thing with the Lincoln and the suspension of habeas corpus. That's an old argument that just doesn't hold water anymore under the new scholarship. Now I'm nitpicking, I'm a prof, that's what I do. Let me tell you, I thought you guys did a really nice job, handled a lot of complicated material in a nice way. So I really liked hearing what you did this morning.
And because you're having to put up with a legislator who really, I'm sure, has his own positions already figured out and laid out, and y'all are having to listen to him, you know, you're having to overcome a lot as you begin. I'm kidding. I've known your teacher for a long time, and he's obviously passing along not only his own scholarly knowledge, but his personal experience now, which could not do anything but help you all. I'm always impressed with your school, and I appreciate how you present. I said this to the last group, but I'm going to say it to you. You all used a good number of cases, and you mentioned them. Be very careful when you quote cases that you know what they're about. And the reason I say that is sometimes the paragraph that follows the title of the case, the style of the case, does not completely say what that case is about. I know some years ago, some folks quoted a case about jury selection, but they missed the point, and they kept quoting the other point about that case rather than what the real impact of it was. Be sure that if you're going to use a case, you don't use it lightly. Make sure that you know what you're talking about. I'm not talking about any one person. Nobody said anything this morning they didn't know anything about. Charles, I was fascinated that you had you know so much that you had two different blocks this morning. I kept looking at two different Charles Taylors. So it was fascinating that we had two of you this morning. I know you must be the strength of the group. Thank you all so much, and we appreciate your participation this morning.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Good luck to everybody. They're going to move us out here in just a second. Keep working hard. Good luck with the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Yes. Allison, do we leave or do you put us?
Try that. Did that
There
work?
we go.
All right,
Perfect.
good.
All right.
All right, we'll get it.
All right. See y'all.
Be good.
Bye.
All right, guys, really good job. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Andrew, that was maybe the spiciest comment of all time. Well, tomorrow
that,
Congress
Andrew.
and president can send us into nuclear war. that was really well done. And made my day. So you guys be good. You did a really good job. Be proud of yourselves and see you tomorrow.
Good job, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.